Hello! Finishing the first half of Road to Super Bowl Season 2, your NFL preview towards 2024 season. We are finishing the first half with Jacksonville Jaguars. And it kind of feels that after the episode that I was super passionate about, super excited because I was talking about my Seahawks, with the Jags, I just don't feel the excitement. And probably the biggest reason for it just feel like such a wasted opportunity that like the management of this team had, because you had back-to-back first picks overall. You had a chance to put your hand on generational prospect in Trevor Lawrence, and you did. You actually managed to not screw him up with like your Urban Meyer first year with the Jaguars. That was absolute disaster. He managed to like stay on course to become really good quarterback. And as of right now, I would say he's about 10th best QB in the league, in my opinion. Which, like when you put this together, so we actually hit on the guy, despite, almost ruining him 8-1. We had another first pick overall that should be a hit. It wasn't, spoiler alert. And actually, because of some like situations, we were not picking that high, so we should have been really prepared to, in Trevor Lawrence's 4th or 5th year of his career, to actually be interesting, be someone that is feared, and we should be dominating this division. That was also what the expectation was like heading into last year, right? It was like, okay, we've managed to overcome the Titans, that we've made the huge comeback against the Chargers. This is going to be another year we will make a progress, and it just wasn't. Like, it seems like this team is just kind of stuck in the middle, despite Trevor Lawrence being the guy for this team, in my opinion. And I'm kind of blaming the roster management of this team, because with the resources that they've had, whether it's draft or even money-wise, I just don't think they're doing a good job. And that's where I'm like, this could be ultimately a team that is stuck in a purgatory with a QB that has no business to be stuck in a purgatory, because the ensemble around him just doesn't give him a Super Bowl winning roster next to him, that you can win a Super Bowl because of Trevor Lawrence, in my opinion. He won't break you there. He's not that type of guy as of right now. Will he ever be? Probably not. I think his ceiling at this point of his career is probably like 5th to 6th best QB in the league. That's pretty damn good, right? Also, he is not even 25 as of right now, or he just reached 25. Only a year older than like a guy like Jaden Daniels, who's been drafted this year. So I don't think we've seen the best of Trevor Lawrence. I don't think also that he has like that much more growth that he would emerge as the Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, absolutely creme de la creme of a QB. But can he go and be the 5th best guy in the league? I think absolutely. And despite this, I really feel kind of no excitement about this roster. So let's find out why, shall we? And it starts with a draft, right? Sorry, Mason Smith, I have a wrong picture of you. Sorry for that. Kind of happens sometimes. I'm sorry for you guys. I'm sure you can Google those guys. It should be like 99.5% my pictures and grades and everything is accurate. Some of the cases I just forget to replace the guy's picture or added a comma, added a zero. I'm sorry for that. I hope it's not a big deal for you. Sorry. But let's talk about Brian Thomas, because that's Brian Thomas twice kind of. And I could have talked about this in a way that, well, Brian Thomas twice kind of makes sense, because in this offseason, they, in my eyes, overpaid for Gabe Davis, who kind of gives them the fight for, or should be a starting deep threat on this roster, which is kind of the best position for Brian Thomas. So you kind of have two guys on fight for one spot, and it's like, why are you wasting? Not wasting. Why are you spending a really valuable pick for it, as well as really big chunk of money? Because Gabe Davis, he was not freaking cheap. Like, I'm just going to give you the exact amount. You sign him to 3-year, 39 millions, and that's not a cheap, cheap one. And it's not like you have a way out of it. They already had to restructure the contract so they can kind of afford all of this. And I'm struggling to see why. Like, why do you want two guys to make the same? So as far as Brian Thomas Jr., I think as a 23 pick, they actually done a really good job drafting it down and still getting this guy, because I would say they would most likely pick him if they were staying put at 17. So really good job, somehow, some way. Unfortunately, it didn't matter that much because of what they've done with those picks. But you are taking a guy that you already, in a way, have. Like, either drafting him is like a bit weird, or paying Gabe Davis was. And I'm sure about what I think was the problem, and that's signing Gabe Davis. Though, one saving grace, like, in a vacuum, it's a really good pick. It just feels weird with what happened in offseason. One saving grace is one of the best ability of Trevor Lawrence is his deep balls. He has a cannon of an arm, and they just didn't really have guys to tap into that skill set to really good level. And both Gabe Davis and Brian Thomas are guys that should be able to provide that. Not necessarily they are elite threats, but they should be really good enough to unlock this part of Trevor Lawrence's game. So for what it's worth, I do understand the logic. Well, we kind of didn't have the guy, now we have to, one of them should hit. You know, is it the mantra of championship winning team? No, but it's at least something. And for what's worth, Brian Thomas is a really good player, so no problems with that, just with the fit. Then Mason Smith, and that's where problems start, because this is a reach. Let's say what it is. It's a reach. It's at least one round reach. Like, I actually had him like 80, so for me it's exactly one round, because 32 picks. And second of all, like, there's just not that much of a tape. Like, he was really high recruited guy that showed really well, like his first year at college, but then got injured and kind of never looked the same. So taking risk on him, okay, like, you are kind of known for it in Jacksonville. It necessarily never kind of worked out beside Josh Allen. So, like, I think it's bad pick. I don't think it's horrendous one. I think for the horrendous is Jaron Jones. Like, I think Seahawks got two better cornerbacks in 5th and 6th round than Jaron Jones is, or cornerback prospect. Like, with Jaguars, it's like, yeah, we always want the trade-seized looking guy. Well, you should be also focusing on guys who can play football. It kind of matters. Like, unless you have the best teachers, which it doesn't seem like your coordinators are best teachers of young players, you have to focus on guys who can play football rather than those who look like they've just come out of the gym or have like the top speed, because it matters whether they can play football or not. And Jaron Jones, I mean, again, nothing against you, man, I wish you nothing but the best, but I had a 6th round grade on him, and I don't think I was alone. Like, you know, when I watched the general public, especially if like bad draft guests, because I was assigning this obviously after the draft, I just didn't get to share it with you. And then I went like to research more perhaps about the guys, especially about the guys that I am grading so roughly as Jaron Jones. Like, what do other people think about him? What have I missed? You know? And that's where, like, for Matt Gonzalez, it's like I found some areas and some reasoning behind those picks that I'm like, all right, I guess I was wrong. But with Jaron Jones, I just haven't. And also, there's a fact that you really need to hit on him. Like, the cornerback quality is not something to write home about. Cornerback injury proneness, it's also questionable. Depth is not really there, so you needed to hit on this one, and yeah, you picked Giant Jones. I wish I will be wrong. I hope for that, because I wish this guy to have a successful career, but I just don't see that. Now we move to Javon Foster, Jordan Jefferson, and DeAndre Prince. Again, as you see, I mean, Keelan Robinson, just to like that guys, just to finish up the guys that I actually ranked. Like, beside Javon Foster, whom he is a prospect, he still has a development, but he's already 24, so do I expect him to, surprise me and emerge as anything more than decent starter? Not really. So yeah, he can be like one of the 28 to 40th best tackle, or like right tackle or left tackle. You understand? Not like tacklers overall, but for one position that is like ultimately really good get backup, or a guy you waiting to draft or get someone better to replace as a starter. So yeah, like solid pick. But Jordan Jefferson, okay, you needed nose tackle, I guess. I didn't think that this guy would get drafted. So, like, what do you want me to say? Like, 4th round, yeah. And still, both those corners that went to Seahawks were still on the board, and you decided to get these guys. DeAndre Prince. And Rich, guy that I didn't thought would get drafted. Like, that's kind of a team. The same with Keelan Robinson. Like, I'm not sure. Like, if Jordan Jefferson, DeAndre Prince, and Keelan Robinson were left on the board and we forbid it, Trent Baalke to draft them, I would say two out of them would not be drafted, and you drafted him by 4th and 5th round. All right, Cam Little. I mean, I do not mind taking a swing on him. Malco, really not a special opinion on the guy. So it just sucks that your best pick and your absolutely best move is trading down and still getting Brian Thomas. That's a brilliant move. But the rest of the draft just absolutely sucks. And even with Brian Thomas, the thinking is kind of flawed because of Gabe Davis' contract. So again, like, you are leaving this draft as a Jaguars fan, or even like anyone who wants to like see teams be good. And you're like, well, they are shooting themselves in the foot with these picks. I cannot say it otherwise. Let's move towards offensive side of the ball, and we start with Doug Peterson. Like, for what it's worth, and I think it's worth actually a lot, he came up after Urban Meyer and he cleaned the mess up in a way. Like, he was able to provide stability and kind of matureness in the room. And not that Urban Meyer was not mature, but something really didn't click with him and the Jaguars organization. Doug Peterson came in and just like put blocks, where they belong. They are a stable organization anyway. But do I think he's some sort of premium offensive mind at this point of his career? I don't. He's good. Is he great? I don't think so anymore. I think he was. I just don't see that much creativeness with this offense, or at least say it otherwise, like way too much creativeness that he just cannot teach to the players. So it seems like they try to do 12 things while everyone is like doing 6, and they cannot execute them. So we will see if they will simplify this offense. Maybe Gabe Davis and Brian Thomas are more of an indicator. Let's just play like no fuck given type of football. every 6th to 10th play, let's just put the ball deep, let's count Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, that could work. But I think as an offensive mind, he's not premium by any stretch of imagination. And I would say kind of, do they need him? Like, the organization seems stable. He probably won't do much with the terrible draft that this general management is kind of putting together year in, year out. And he doesn't provide necessarily like an upside I would hope to have next to like Trevor Lawrence. So I think if they don't make playoffs, this might be the last year of Doug Peterson here. Let's check out what he has to work with. And in terms of weaponry, it's a pretty nice room. And it obviously starts with quarterback room, Mac Jones, CJ Beathard. Mac Jones smiling, it would be nice to see him smile again, because last 2 years in New England, it just was frustration from him, from the fans. It has to end, it had to end. It's unfortunate, because I think Mac Jones entered his career in NFL as a guy that could carve himself up quite a nice career, being that, from Gardner Minshew, Jacoby Brissett, type of like 26, 27 best QB in the league, towards his upside of like Derek Carr's of the world, something like that, something about the 20 best. It seemed like it looks in that direction, that he doesn't necessarily have it to be anything better than that, but definitely a player that unfortunately would get paid a lot of money and would not like deliver on that, but they just put him into super shitty situation with Patriots. He absolutely lost his confidence and was absolutely dreadful last season. Like, he's here to be a backup, he will be a backup. Is he a guy that will necessarily like get his shot like Sam Howell? I don't think so. Like, I don't think he has traits the same way Sam Howell might still see like a potential upside, top half of or maybe like middle of the pack QB. I don't think that's in with Mac Jones. But for whatever it's worth, I hope he will find his confidence back and become kind of a career backup, has a nice career, because I kind of really feel for him, because he got screwed by Patriots. Like, Matt Patricia, offensive coordinator, like, what the fuck were you thinking, Bolt? Sorry, like, what the hell? But let's focus on the guy that's really it for the Jaguars. That's Trevor Lawrence. Like, he had, by the stats, not really super impressive year, but he was still really, really good. Some of the stats were some bad luck, some of the interception was not really his fault, and he was playing hurt down the stretch when they went 1-5, like later in the year. He was playing hurt in those games. He tried to will this team to playoffs, he just ultimately couldn't. And I do expect him to be back around that top 10 QB in the league. I think that's what he is right now. And like I said, I don't think we've seen the best of him. So will he jump guys like Matthew Stafford, Aaron Rodgers, perhaps even Justin Herbert this year? He can. Will he? We will see. But he's like, if some Jets fan or Jaguars fan are worried about Trevor Lawrence, I don't think you should. This guy is really, really good, and a lot of teams would envy Trevor Lawrence. Now let's move towards running back rooms, and it's Travis Etienne, and then good luck, because he will play like 70 to 80% of the snaps. They will absolutely wear him down. So, I understand that everybody wants to play, but as a running backs, it starts to feel like you should not allow the team to do that to your body, because it significantly lowers the chance that you will get paid, down the line. So they are kind of like taking advantage of Travis Etienne in a way, and he's still like close to top 10, top 12 running back in the league, though his numbers last year were bad. I don't think it's mostly about him. It's more about the offensive line, the scheming. I still think he's pretty good, and he needs to be really good, because behind him, thank Bisbee and Dennis Johnson, Take the numbers, like 2.6 yard a carry for Tank Bixby, right? Like, behind the same offensive line with the same scheme, so he kind of elevates that to at least 3.8 Travis Etienne. Despite being the guy that you carry a heavy, super heavy workload. So I think in a great offense, like put him behind the third offensive line, and his yard per carry would be like 5.5, 5.6. Put him behind Eagles last year. The same. It's just here it's really hard for Travis, but he's really good. Trust me on that one. He kind of not necessarily has the best hands, but he has really good hands. He's really an option for you in a receiving game as well. So he could be a player that not everyone knows about how good he actually is. So you should watch him much more. Let's take a look about wide receivers, and we start with Christian Kirk, who is really good player, but as your number one, he's going to be 24th best number one wide receiver in the league. It just says a lot about how good wide receiver groups are in the league when Christian Kirk is kind of that low. Eventually, I think he's maxed out. I don't see him improving, and if he was your number two, sorry about that one. If he was your number two, you are happy, but he is not, and it's not like there is anyone close to him. Like both Gabe Davis and Brian Thomas, as of right now, I think they are just decent starters. I am not a huge fan of Gabe Davis. Like, he will have games when he looks like a monster, and then for 3 weeks you get nothing from him. And that sort of inconsistency, I just don't think is actually what you're looking for. Like, you don't need this type of players, or like you don't want to have this type of players, because in that one game that he's special at, it's not necessarily like it's a W. Like, it's just, well, great, for one game we have an amazing wide receiver out there, and for 3 games we have a liability. If you want to have success in the playoffs, you need to put together 3 or 4 games in a row. Gabe Davis cannot do that. So yeah, like if you are like, well, we need to take a swing. For example, this is the one game we are playing against the better team. We want to take a swing on someone. Yeah, Gabe Davis is your guy because he can have that game. But if you want to have continuous success, I just don't see it. And they paid him 3 years, 39 million, which is not that much, right? Like, it's not obviously even like tier 2 wide receiver money. But to me, you should give him 1 year, 10 million, kind of prove a deal. Pick Brian Thomas in this scenario as well. And if they can coexist together, great. If Gabe Davis beats up on Brian Thomas, like, kind of even better, because he deserves money then. But like, as of right now, I don't think so, and they don't really have a nice way out from that contract. So they are kind of stuck with this trio, and unless Brian Thomas absolutely delivers or Gabe Davis surprises me, this is kind of meh trio, like nothing special. Like I said, the good part about this, both Gabe Davis and Brian Thomas should be really good tracking deep balls. So if they will go out there and just try to use that strength of Trevor Lawrence much more, they finally have guys to deliver on that. So we can see some really highlight plays from both of these guys. In terms of backups for this room, nothing really to say. Like, Devin Duvernay has had some like successful years in the past. Decent starter at this point is like kind of obscure for him. Like, he's really close to just be a good backup, and I don't really necessarily see it with Parker, Washington, neither Tim Jones to be anything more than 4 or 5 pieces. Pieces 4 and 5 that you are living with, you are not super happy about. In terms of tight ends, like Evan Ingram, is he a tight end? Like, he's big wide receiver and small tight end in a way. He cannot block. He cannot block, so he is useless in that part of the game. So he kind of is almost like your best wide receiver in a way, like, though he's not. Like in terms of pass catching players, he might actually be your biggest weapon, even over Christian Kirk. But you kind of need tight ends to do the tight endy thing and also block, and that means that either Luke Farrell or Brandon Sage are going to see a field quite often, and that's a problem because neither of them should be that. Like they should be 200 snaps at best type of players. I don't really see anything in terms of upside necessarily that would make me second guess myself on this one. So despite it looks kind of nice because of Evan Ingram kind of one-dimensionality, it means more playing time for these two guys, and that's a bit of an issue. But at the end of the day, like not a group that will sink you for sure. Like Evan Ingram is really good tight end. Now we switch to offensive line, and it's kind of situation, or we try to not have a weak link type of offensive line. And I think at the end of the day, they are doing quite a nice job of that. Like, it's not necessary that any of these players should or would be like top half of the rankings for their position. Well, Cam Robinson, solid left tackle, probably like 26th, 27th best left tackle in the league. Anton Harrison, there is room to grow for him, but as of right now, 24th best right tackle in the league. Walker Little, that's where you are really good. Like Walker Little is kind of, you put him left, you put him right. He's like 32nd kind of best tackle if he starts, or like more like 30. Okay, let's say 30. There are worse starting right tackles or left tackles than Walker Little would be. So for what it's worth, you have a really nice backup here, and with Anton Harrison you have some upside. But it's a negative, obviously. Like this is not a group that elevates you. This is a group you live with and hope that doesn't suck that much. And in terms of interior, Ezra Cleveland, Mitch Morse, and Brandon Sheriff. I would say when I'm looking at Ezra Cleveland, good starter. Yeah, I think that's another shot tech for you guys who has followed the series. You know what I mean. It's a typo. It should be just a decent starter for Ezra Cleveland. I think I was doing Brandon Sheriff card and I was switching to Ezra Cleveland, and I was kind of missing to check on the grade. I'm sorry for that. So Ezra Cleveland is probably their worst starter and would be like 26th best left guard in the league. For what it's worth, Brandon Sheriff is like close to the top half in terms of right guard, probably like 18, 19. And Mitch Morse, very solid center, about 22nd best center in the league. So that's your offensive line. And it's pretty much nothing behind that, especially in terms of interior. Like Javon Foster, development type, who's already 24. I don't see the upside with him. Luke Fortner played kind of snaps, but was not really good. Necessarily is not like natural as a guy. But this is the one. Like let's have on average 23rd best player on his position across the whole line. Let's not have a ridiculously bad weak link. That's the approach. And they secured that. Is there any upside? Well, only Anton Harrison, I would say. Is there any downside? Again, probably not. All of these guys kind of are what they are. So, good for you. Like making this relatively not expensive group that will get the job done, will protect Trevor Lawrence. Why not? At the end of the day, you will have to save money somewhere or save draft picks somewhere and combine. Let's just check how much these guys are worth combined, okay? Because I think that's an interesting. With Cam Robinson, you kind of went on. He is out there for 21 million. But Brandon Sheriff, 11.5. I would say that's deserved. Ezra Cleveland, 3.9. Anton Harrison, obviously on rookie deal, 3 million. Mitch Morse, as a starting center that you just got, 2.6. Walker Little, 2.4. So Cam Robinson, you overpaid for, but Other than that, this is like 40 million in terms of money worth offensive line, and that's not really horrible for the production you are getting. So for myself, this is quite a solid managerial job. Nothing spectacular, but solid. Now let's shift towards defense, and the defense is going to be overseen by Ryan Nielsen, who was last year with Atlanta. They went with Raheem Morris, defensive-minded head coach. So Ryan Nielsen kind of was forced to leave, but it's not the situation that he was bad with Atlanta. I think he actually made the roster look better. So I think C is a respectable grade, and I would not be surprised if I end higher on him after this season. And he also has quite a lot to work with, especially in terms of D-line. Let's check it out. Josh Allen, you have an elite star there. That's where, like when you actually have your franchise QB in Trevor Lawrence, and you have another player that's even better in terms of his position in Josh Allen, and that position is edge. It's a really freaking valuable position. Just sucks that this team doesn't give me more hope. So Josh Allen, absolutely a monster out there. He was really special last season, and for what it's worth, every year he gets better. So he kind of cannot move up in my rankings. Like I don't have any rankings behind, like over the elite star. But in my mind, can he get to a level of Myles Garrett, of Max Crosby, of Nick Bosa? I think it's up there for him. I think he wants to be. I'm not like certain about it, but even the fact that when everybody's calling him, like they have to go Josh Allen, the guy from Jaguars, like that probably gives you slight chip on your shoulder, because he is an elite player, and still people are like, if anyone would mention Josh Allen, 99% of the fans, and even the fans that understand the NFL, would go, yeah, the QB from Buffalo. But there is another elite Josh Allen in the league. So we started with really good, right? But now let's turn it down a notch, because Trevor Walker, number one pick a couple years ago, he just did not deliver, and you kind of start to question if it's in him, and not kind of, like you are starting to questioning that. They will have to make a decision on his 50th option in the year, and as of right now, they would not pick it up for sure. Like it's said to be like 23 millions or something crazy like that, and he's worth like 12 at best even at current edge market, and it's much more like 10. But okay, let's put his upside out there, and 12 million probably can be something that you are settled with. It seems like 11-6, maybe I should be talking much better about him, and just don't. Like even like his pass rush grade kind of says, well, sacks are just a number, and they are not created equally. Like most of these sacks are actually someone else doing a really good job, and QB tries to escape, and then there is Trevor Walker, and just go like this. And he is a great athlete. Like that's why he was drafted as a first overall, because he has a freakish natural potential, like natural ability in terms of, again, he is an absolute stud of an athlete. He kind of struggles with that part of playing the ball, and we kind of heard, not necessarily that Tyree Wilson has like similar body type, but he doesn't have that much of a body as Trevor Walker has, and he actually went and trained with Mark Crosby to develop into this guy. And I've just never heard anything about Trevor Walker just going over the summer and be like, yeah, I want to learn. And it just doesn't feel like he improves. Like he still wins with his athleticism. He still makes plays with that, but that football side of things, more pass rush moves, sometimes even more effort. You just don't see that. So it's kind of make or break season for him. For what it's worth, I think that Ryan Nielsen system should suit him better. So if he cannot do it this year, I think you decline 50-year option, and he could become a journeyman kind of 1-year type that he will still get a decent chunk of money because of his traits, but he never fulfills his potential. And then, as the best backup to this guy, is Travis Gibson, who had some decent snaps, but there is a reason why it was just 76 snaps, despite Bears having a problem with their defensive line. So there's probably some perhaps character problems or something. Why, despite when he's on the field, he kind of performs, but why teams are willing to letting him go? Okay, let's move to interior, and they've signed Eric Armstead. Really big signing. They were kind of we cannot wait for Trevor Walker to kind of become a guy that will absolutely benefit, not towards his own stats, but towards team in terms of using how great Josh Allen is. Because all the teams were like, well, we double Josh Allen, he will still have some wins occasionally, but there is no one that we are afraid of. Well, that changes now, because Eric Armstead is a guy you should be afraid of. If he comes back from the injury he sustained last year and is going to be his former self. There is a lot of indication that that's going to be the case, but you have to have that in mind. Next to him, Devon Hamilton, Roy Robertson Harris, both players that are you excited about? No, but they will get the job done. I don't think they are actually close to just a good backups. I really feel like with them, it's like with Mitch Morse. They are decent starters, and they will be decent starters for kind of next 2 or 3 years before they decline. I honestly think they are maxed out, but I also don't think there is any specific aspect of their game where you're yeah, they should not be starting. They are okay starters. You cannot have on every position better than decent starters. It's not possible in the NFL with cap hit. So you have to have guys like Roy Robertson Harris, like Devon Hamilton, like Mitch Morse, and in ideal world you don't pay them that much, and that kind of works for your benefit actually. So overall, that D-line is really good. You have special players in Josh Allen, and you have a really good number 2 piece in Eric Armstead. It's actually quite well orchestrated. You only have problem if Travis Gibson has to play significant amount of snaps, which can definitely happen, but both Trevor Walker and Josh Allen are able to sustain heavy workload, so it should not be that much of a problem. And even in terms of run defense, they will get the job done towards better half of the league, somewhere around top 10 in both categories. So really nice group. But why are you not more excited about this group, right? That's because Trevor Walker. Because in your wild dreams, you just think about how extremely excellent this group could be if Trevor Walker fulfill his potential. If he was having the work ethic, if he was a football player that some other people are without his body type, man oh man, this would be scary. As of right now, it's really good, but I just feel like that potential just not being fulfilled, and just makes me sad. And also a part of DL is also linebackers, which finally, this is some backup types in Mason Smith. Yeah, with Mason Smith I just don't see necessarily anything interesting to be anything more. Perhaps good start to eventually. Jordan Jefferson, really, and Adam Gittis. Yeah, just a couple of guys from the bench. Obviously Mason Smith, because of the investment, probably will overtake either Devon Hamilton or Robertson Harris. Probably Devon Hamilton eventually. What am I excited about that? No. And now you go towards linebacker room, and finally, this is not just a generic linebacker room. This is actually a room that improves the ranking of DL, defensive line plus linebackers. And I would say for both of these guys are really close to impactful starter in my rankings. With Olicon, I do expect that to happen like week 2, week 3. He just missed by this. With Devin Lloyd, kind of middle of that tier, so or like more towards that important starter, but he's not as close. But would I be surprised if he ended up impactful starter in the end of the year? No. So really a duo that elevates you. Devin Lloyd has had really incredible year in terms of run defense, but overall I would say both of these guys are kind of well-rounded in terms of they can pass rush a little bit, they have really good run defense, and they are really good in coverage. So one of the better rooms in terms of linebackers, I would say, maybe even top 5, because they just don't have weakness, especially these two guys. It's also kind of sad that, even if I had for a starter as impactful starter and Devin Lloyd as good starter, that's enough to be like top 5 linebacker room out there. With Chet Muma, some guys are much higher on him. I'm not saying like he's far away from being a good backup for me, but as you can see, he just didn't show much last year, and we will see if he continues to develop, and he will probably get more opportunities this year because they should be out there with 3 linebacker set more often than they used to last season. So we will see with Chet Muma. Slight detriment because they will more use him that I would be super comfortable with, but do I necessarily rule out his development? No. Like decent starter, that's what he can carve out for me. Now let's switch to the safety room, and one conversation here that is, I would say, not most important or most interesting is Daniel Savage. I have him ranked as actually a good starter for safety. But there is talk that he would switch to a slot cornerback, which like he kind of never played, but he should, either word have really good traits to play that position. And we will see about that. As of safety, I do have him ranked actually quite nice, like a good starter. Again, probably bottom of the tier, someone you can count on. He would not be your best safety even if he stayed at the position. That would be Andre Cisco. Really nice player. You can expect him to make a leap. Even he is still... How old is Andre Cisco? 24? Yeah, he's still just 24. This is his contract year. So I think he will play with his ass or head on fire. You can choose whatever you like. And... yeah, I don't put it past him that he would improve on my ranking. I just don't think Terrell Edmonds or Daniel Savage would. So, for what it's worth, this room is deep. It has potential in Andre Cisco, and in Andre Wingard you get another quite nice depth piece. Now let's move to cornerback room, and this is on paper, decent enough. Tyson Campbell, he's kind of Christian Kirk of cornerback rooms. He's good. He's really close to important starter for me, but he's one of the worst number 1 cornerback / wide receiver when you switch it out with Christian Kirk in a league. Then with Ronald Darby, when he plays good. He plays really well last year, though it was in Baltimore and they kind of make anyone look good with the system, but he is a good player. Decent player, but close to good. Definitely closer to good player, good starter than to good backup. The problem is he kind of always gets injured. Antonio Johnson, they are flirting with an idea to move him to safety. To actually play next to Andre Cisco. There's definitely potential for him. Daniel Savage moving to slot, Antonio Johnson moving to safety. I'm not sure how they will actually figure this one out. And, when we talk about Jarian Jones, he is even behind Montaric Brown as of right now in terms of their depth chart. So, when healthy and when not mixing shit up, like actually playing guys in their natural position, it's decent enough secondary with some depth pieces that actually I think matter, that they should be counting on. But when they mix it up, the hell I know what could the end result be. So that overall ends the roster roster breakdown for the Jaguars, and now let's talk about when they are positioned in terms of their road to Super Bowl and what's there for this year and for what's their upside. I think the floor is about 7 wins. The division is kind of tough. There are some weaknesses, or like not necessarily like some weaknesses. There is just like I would say they will win like 4 games comfortably. They will feel like in 4 games they went part of it. Actually, like they didn't kind of have a chance. And the rest of the 9 games, it's just going to be really close. And they should be good enough to win at least 3 of them. But I don't think they should be better than winning 6 of them. So it really feels like from 7 to 10 wins. That's the upside. And kind of a team that is boring in a way. Like they have really interesting players, but I don't see them making noise in playoffs. I don't see them just being, even for a month of consecutive results, to be like a juggernaut. And like there's not even, like with the exception of Brad Thomas, there's not like an exciting rookie. There's almost, it feels like there is not a part of their game that I'm like super excited about. And I will mention two things that can get you excited, I think, and even me. If Trevor Walker figures it out, this pass rush could be lethal. So watch on that one. And second is if they will play more of a let's fucking throw a touchdown every 10 play, really launch it down the field, and we trust you, Trevor. Like that could be fun. Like it probably doesn't sustain very well, but it should at least be fun. With Gabe Davis, Brian, and Thomas kind of looking for these highlight catches, for these big chunk plays. So yeah, but that's the best I can do for you. I'm sorry, Jags fans, but I just cannot get excited for this team. And with that, I will talk about your road to Super Bowl. And I would still say you are kind of in the middle, because if you start to make better decision, which I would say would be fire your GM, because that draft again was horrendous, Trent Baalke, and perhaps even fire Doug Peterson, because you kind of stabilize it. You are stable enough to take a swing in terms of the head coach again. Probably don't go for college legend, but let's go for Ben Johnsons of the world. Like boy oh boy, would I like to see Ben Johnson here with Trevor Lawrence? I think that would be definitely your way to potential Super Bowl contention. And you can, I think, make a case for him. Okay, like we have Trevor Lawrence, we have Brian Thomas. There are some other weapons for you to work with. So, and we are not obviously even in the same division or in the same conference. So I would not put it beyond Ben Johnson to be interviewed for this job next year. But I don't think under current both head coach in terms of Doug Peterson and GM of Trent Baalke, this team, I just cannot see them become very interesting despite having their franchise QB, and it's very sad. So with that, I would say they are still like solidly positioned, like 18 to 20 best, because they have that franchise guy, they have Josh Allen, but that's it. Thank you very much for listening, especially Jags fan out there. Let me know what you think on this take. Like, am I too harsh on this team? What excites you about the Jaguars, especially for this season? Let me know. And see you with the next one. We are halfway done. I am super excited to start a new half and deliver everything to you before the season started. Bye bye.